My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me now and we will explore these topics and so much more with fascinating guests, authors, and experts who will guide us to Destination Unlimited. If we live in a vibrational universe where everything is energy, how may we learn to embrace vibrational living and tap into our personal superpowers for a conscious and fulfilling life? My guest this week on Destination Unlimited, vibrational coach Carina Marshall, asked this question on her own personal journey and recognized 16 metaphysical tools that will help us achieve this. Carina Marshall is a vibrational transformation coach, passionate about serving others on the deepest level through promoting vibrational living. She's a certified master life coach, life and spiritual mentor, and meditation teacher, having practiced Kriya Yoga for decades. Her website is unlimitedself.us, and she joins me this week to share her path and book, Discover and Use Your Greatest Superpower, Metaphysics, Spirituality, and Bubblegum. Please join me in welcoming to Destination Unlimited, Carina Marshall. Welcome, Carina.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be in your program.
Carina, please share with us your formative years and your understanding as a child and a little later of the nature of spirit.
Well, for as early as I can remember, I always knew and felt there was a world beyond just what I see and able to touch, using my five senses. I refer to that unseen world as non-physical, just for lack of a better term, or that which we cannot see and touch. So since I was a little girl, I also felt that I have this constant companion within me that is co-experiencing whatever I am up to on any given day. So I never felt alone. So this was my definition of spirit. And I was born with two older sisters, 4 and 8 years old, older than me. So they were somewhat in their own worlds, but I was quite happy playing by myself because I never felt alone. I was also born with a lively imagination, which in my adulthood, I consider my healthy escape, but also the creative aspect of my thinking and emotions. And I learned to focus that imagination into something I want to happen. And most of the time it did. So later on as a young adult, I learned to contemplate and then meditate and learn the yogic principles of the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, an Indian saint and spiritual master who founded the Self-Realization Fellowship and based here in Los Angeles. And learning meditation and stillness amplified my and accelerated my connection with spirit or non-physical. And of course, I stumbled into learning the law of attraction from channeler Esther Hicks and Abraham, a collective group of non-physical beings. That has led me to a greater understanding of universal laws and the world of energy. So here I am now, and I really came to understand that and realize that I have been channeling my inner being ever since I can remember as a little girl, and spirit has become a much more integrated part of me now. And I hope that answers your question. It was a long-winded answer.
No,
right?
No, it was a wonderful answer. And we have very similar childhoods. I'm a few years older than you, actually a lot older than you, but I had a similar childhood growing up in the early 1950s. And one of my challenges back then was when I would share what I was experiencing and hearing and sensing. I was told I had an overactive imagination, and my parents discouraged me. Did yours do the same?
Oh, yes, because, parents can be very focused on what needs to be done during the day, how they can raise their kids properly. So, yes, the answer to that is they would usually tell me what's important and what's not, based, of course, on their own beliefs.
And what would you say to parents of children who are listening right now, who are also manifesting and expressing the things that we did as children?
Well, I would suggest that parents can step back a little bit, relax a little bit, just enjoy where their kids seem to be playing in their imagination, and sometimes even play with them, because that's all part of our creative well-being, and it doesn't really hurt anybody.
Absolutely. Now, how did your professional journey lead to becoming a vibrational transformation coach? And how would you describe the nature of this work?
Well, I have eased into the role of a vibrational transformation coach, simultaneous with a professional career in information technology and now in real estate. As a former project manager in the defense contracting industry and now in real estate, I have always felt there is something more than quote unquote earning a living and helping people find or sell their homes. Although I apply the techniques that I mentioned in my book in my practice, business practices. So, as far as I can remember in my childhood, I've been interested, as I said, in non physical aspects of my life, but also now I get to apply that in my business practice. And it was just a natural evolution that this vibrational transformation coach became an identity that I am actually learning to enjoy more and more as I sort of remind my clients that there is so much more into our ways of life, no matter what kind of life you're living, and that there's so much empowerment within us if we only give it a chance.
What inspired your book, Discover and Use Your Greatest Superpower?
We all went through a an incredible lockdown starting in 2019 because of the pandemic. And we sort of all realized that this was bringing out a collective fear in the face of humanity. And in my view, it has also actually catalyzed a number of awakenings. During that time, I had already expanded my understanding of the world as vibrational in nature. And although there was the collective fear that I could sense, I somehow also knew and felt that what was happening was catalyzing our collective expansion. And each of us, of course, individually as well, um, was undergoing some form of transformation. And that's how I felt that I really need to send or share my message to the world for those who are ready to resonate with the message and write the book. So that's how it came about.
The entire title is Discover and Use Your Greatest Superpower, Metaphysics, Spirituality, and Bubblegum. Now, listeners resonate with the subtitle Metaphysics and Spirituality, but please share with us the superpower of bubblegum. And one other question, does the flavor make a difference?
I love your question, Victor. um, well, you know, the subject of spirituality and metaphysics can sometimes be taken so seriously, and some people are even turned off just by mentioning those two words. While bubblegum, everybody can chew bubblegum. And as a kid, it reminded me of relaxation, of thinking nothing of anything and everything, and just allowing, in my view. So the title, I chose the title because I felt that it doesn't only catch your attention, but it intrigues or makes you curious about why bubblegum, and precisely because the contents and the message of my book and what we are, I think a lot of us are getting ready to learn, is that it's all integrated as part of our business lives, our relationships, our families, and our each one of us as individuals.
And what flavor bubblegum?
I like the pink one. It's kind of like it's the traditional bubblegum flavor. I forget the name, but it's like bubblegum flavor.
Absolutely. Now, you share that our personal consciousness equals our reality. Please explain.
Well, that means the personal reality of each one of us is composed of our thoughts, emotions, and our beliefs. Those three categories really comprise what I call a person's vibrational makeup. And I just refer that to as a VM to make it easier to remember. So, a vibrational manner or makeup of a person is actually what's causing our reality to be perceived in a certain way. So, our current personality, whatever it is basically pointing to our current beliefs, our current thoughts, and our current emotions. And then I also came across reading or I think watching one of Joe Dispenza's videos, and he said the same thing. So I must have tuned in either to him or we must have both tuned in to some part of our cosmos that's stating that message. And, our personalities are basically the vibration we emit.
Talk a little more about vibration, about this vibrational energy. How would you describe that to listeners?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really important question because we live in a world of energy. And I don't need to quote Einstein, but all of us are familiar with the quotes of Einstein that everything is energy, nothing is really destroyed. So, energy is composed of vibrations, and anything and everything in the universe is vibrational in nature. We too, as individuals, with our thoughts are vibrations. Emotions or feelings are vibrations as well. And so are our beliefs. And with what we're emitting as a vibration, we are also creating a frequency that attracts the same kind of frequency and creates the reality that we perceive.
So then, if our personal consciousness equals our reality, then by changing our vibration and frequency, we also change our reality, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. We expand our consciousness and we expand that reality. And then we are actually leading ourselves to tuning in to who we really are.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit more about that, about changing the nature of our vibration and our energy. How do we go about doing that?
Well, in my book, Discover and Use Your Greatest Superpower, I mentioned 16 metaphysical tools where you can actually tune in to your inner world or that vibration within that allows you to expand your consciousness. And when you expand your consciousness, you are putting yourselves in this journey. I wouldn't call it really a journey because it can be instantaneous, but you are tuning in to the frequency of source. And if you would like to call source as God, that's fine too, or spirit or divinity. We allow ourselves to discover the source within us, to discover the God within us, or to discover the universal divinity within us. And it becomes very exciting to discover that that is the superpower that each of us is waiting to uncover.
And we're going to touch more upon those 16 metaphysical tools shortly, but please explain the relevance of metaphysics and spirituality in uncovering this innate potential.
Well, it's the importance of this is because it gives us a perspective of when you ask the question, so what? Then you each person will have the understanding that metaphysics and spirituality is all part of this consciousness field. And in the consciousness field, it's all vibration. And we are all within consciousness, and consciousness is also part of us. So to understand our vibrational nature and also connect that with the inner matrix of life and the consciousness field, then we get an understanding of what life is all about.
So you and I meet on a street. We've never met before. We're strangers to one another. How does my field affect your field?
It may or may not affect my field. It depends on what I'm resonating with and what I'm open to. So if I'm open to receiving something that is vibrationally within my frequency, I would probably get a sense of who you are, on a feeling level, and even probably be vibrationally tuned in to what kind of words or interaction I will have with you.
So
Does
if
that make
you,
sense?
yes, yes, what I'm alluding to is if you meet someone or you're in a work situation or in a social situation and there's someone there, I'm the type of person who can immediately pick up on the vibration of others and know if someone is in a
Right.
good place or in a bad place.
Hmm.
And what I'm saying is the energy that we have, the vibration that we have within us, that frequency, can have a positive or negative effect on those we meet.
That's true. Yeah. Yes, that's true. So depending on, for example, like in my business, my real estate business, for instance, and I meet a client, and I can detect some kind of negative energy. I have a way of dealing with that energy where I could invite unconsciously or subconsciously invite the energy of that person to either neutralize or um, distract it on a physical level to focus on something else. There's a way where we can interact with another person and channel that existing energy into something else, maybe transform it into something that allows both persons to communicate and relate better.
Absolutely. I've spent 44 years in technological business in the welding industry, meeting many different types of people in many different situations. And one of the things, and I used to teach the sales staff that worked with me, and I would teach them when they meet the customer for the first time, get a sense of what that person is about, sense what they're feeling, what they're going
Uh-huh.
through, what position they're in right now. And when you can connect with them on that level, you can actually take ownership of their satisfaction
Oh,
and make sure that you respond to them in a way that they will resonate with, and that will increase your business and increase the flow of activity between you.
beautiful. I love your phrase about ownership.
Satisfaction, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
And is that an approach that you use in your business?
I do. I do. And it's so far it's been working really well. So I think it works. And I've shared those techniques in my book, and hopefully it can help some people. And the tools are really simple, and you can create your own. But those are just the tools. The tools that I explain in my book are tools that have worked for me.
And what I teach the salespeople, what I used to teach the salespeople is if you take the letters W and R out of ownership, you end up with one ship, and it's the one ship we all sail on together.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Victor. That's really wonderful.
Talk a little bit more about, empaths, because I'm an empath and many of my friends are empaths. And we have this ability to walk into, like I said, a room or situation, and we can pick up on the energy of those who are there. And for some of us, not all, but for some of us, it is very difficult to fend off negativity or take that negativity that we're picking up and embrace it within ourselves rather than understand it and be compassionate to that person. How can we protect ourselves against that energy?
Well, I think empaths have an expanded consciousness, and when you ask the question about protecting, I think if one believes that you are susceptible to for your boundaries to be intercepted or broken through by another energy, then I guess there's some revelation about that in terms of firming up that boundary. It just takes practice, knowing that if you really know and realize and get to use your superpower, which is within yourself, you will hold your own energy no matter what situation you're in. And it doesn't mean that you're aloof or you don't care about other people, but more so, you are actually practicing an unconditional kind of, I would call it love, when you are able to shine your light amidst, negativity, and be able to offer that kind of higher frequency of peace, love, and joy, if you call it that way, and potentially invite the non-physical aspect of that person or persons in a room to that kind of energy.
Absolutely. The wisdom of my guest, Carina Marshall. Her book is called Discover and Use Your Greatest Superpower, Metaphysics Spirituality, and Bubblegum. Carina, please share with our listeners where they can get your book and find out more about you and your work.
Yes, my book is available at Amazon and Barnes and Noble online. It's really very easy. It's both available as an ebook and as a hard copy. And it offers 16 metaphysical tools that will amplify your powers of intention, your intuition, visualization, and really understanding the subtle world of energy.
And your website?
My website is www.unlimitedself.us. And the US is really us.
Absolutely. And we'll be back with more of Carina after these words on the Om Times Radio Network.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM. Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Om Times, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio.
If I could be you,
and you could be me for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
They are our love bugs and companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life better. When we face unexpected challenges, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people and their pets. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this week is Carina Marshall. Her book is entitled Discover and Use Your Greatest Superpower, Metaphysics, Spirituality, and Bubblegum. Carina, you had mentioned that there are 16 metaphysical tools that readers can apply in their daily lives. Of course, we're going to have everyone go out and get your book and read them, but tell us about these tools. Name a few of these tools.
Yeah, well, to simplify, I group them into three groups. First are the better feeling tools, because you can't really focus on or tune into your superpower if you're so angry or you're so annoyed or you're really feeling negative. So the first part of the tools are better feeling tools, and under that category, I have 5 techniques. Okay, and then the second part are tuning in tools. These are tools that will tune in more into the frequency you're wanting to desire in your life, the reality you want to have in your life. And the third group of tools are maintenance tools, because, once you're enlightened, so to speak, you don't hang a diploma on your wall and say, hey, I'm enlightened. It's a moment to moment kind of thing. It's because we're always becoming. And one of the tools that I really enjoy sharing is the shine the light technique. That is a visualization technique where you engage the consciousness field to change a situation. And for instance, in an unpleasant situation, you shift your physical presence by becoming a witness to what is happening. And we can, have a little demonstration if you wish.
Please.
And talk about that.
Please.
This technique called Shine the Light is a metaphysical tool that has been really effective in both my business and relationships. But first, let me tell you a story, if I may, about a client of mine in real estate a few years ago. As a backgrounder to this story, I have another professional identity I mentioned earlier, which is that I am also a real estate broker by accident, quote unquote, which became my spiritual training ground for using my superpower. I had this client who was the most negative person I've ever met. He hired me to sell his home on the East Coast many years ago. And aside from that mutual objective to get the house sold, our approaches were so far apart. He would curse a lot, anticipate so many worse scenarios, did not trust anyone, and talked about the unfairness of life all the time. I knew I had to use the silent love tool that I mentioned in my book. Every time I had an interaction with this difficult client, I would imagine the negative words being bathed in light and then transformed into their opposite positive word counterparts. For example, if this client said, there are blank curse word, there are no good buyers out there, I would instantaneously decide to hear, quote unquote, there are so many great buyers out there. And this is playing in my imagination, okay? And then I would imagine him smiling instead of frowning. What's in front of me, I would imagine the opposite. And then I imagine this wonderful light of love bathing the words and turning into silent love for that person. For example, too, another example is that I could ask you to pick a person in your life right now that you've had an unpleasant interaction recently.
Okay.
Let's use for example, the name Mike, okay, just as a reference.
Okay.
Then recall that image of when the unpleasantness happened.
Okay.
Except now, as you recall it, you are an observer and not the participant. The observer is the non-physical part of you. So you are observing Mike and yourself in that unpleasant situation, okay?
Yes.
So as you are observing the situation, you notice that the non-physical part of Mike is also observing the situation. And if it helps, you can imagine seeing Mike's translucent twin in the scene. Okay, this is all visualization.
Yes.
And your equally translucent non-physical self and Mike's non-physical self acknowledge each other with a smile.
Yes.
Then imagine both observers, or both yours and Mike's non-physical forms, are emitting this glow of light. Then that light becomes a brilliant white light filled with love. The loving light spreads from the non-physical parts of each of you, you and Mike, and then moves to engulf you in your physical forms. Then you breathe in that white light. Then breathe out. Stay within that image of you, immersed in the light for a minute. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Repeat this as often as you can, and it will do wonders with that subject person next time you see him or her.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful. You know, I had a situation many years ago where a friend, we were having dinner, and there were 3 or 4 couples there. And this one individual, this friend of mine, had some issues that he had. I think they stemmed from a lack of self-esteem, that anyone who would challenge any of his beliefs, he would react negatively to. And during the course of this very lovely dinner, someone said something to him, and he had a very negative reaction. And his wife looked embarrassed, and the other couples got up and walked away. And I walked around the table, and I threw my arms around him, and I said, "I love you, I love you, I love you." And he started crying. And I think that's probably for the first time that anyone ever acknowledged him, understood and felt his pain, and was willing to accept that and give him love and compassion in return. And it changed his life.
Beautiful. Yes.
So we're talking about doing that on an energetic level.
Yes, we are talking about that on an energetic level. I was just about to comment that what you've done is a physical level, which is probably very, very most effective, especially with certain types of people. But there are also ways where, even though you don't do it physically, that you can metaphysically actually change the energy within a room or within your interaction with a person.
Absolutely. One of the exercises you offer in this wonderful book is about taking inventory of our feelings. Please share about that.
Well, our feelings carry the highest frequency that can dominate our vibrational manner. Because you could be saying one thing but feeling another, and vibrationally you are causing some cross currents. For example, if you're saying, "Hey, yeah, I don't mind doing it," but then within you're feeling otherwise, you're feeling like, "I really don't want to do this, but maybe I have to." What results in a situation like that is probably an action of some sort that is not your 100%. So the results may not be as how you would like it. That's just an ordinary example, but I'm sure there are other situations where your feelings carry a really important part of vibrationally and physically manifesting your desired results.
And how do we take inventory? Is it like counting them and making a list of them and then filing them away? How do we do it?
That's a good question, though. So when you wake up first thing in the morning, you ask yourself, how am I feeling today? Probably you'll say, "I really don't know." Or if you're not feeling anything so positively or negatively, then you're probably just kind of like waiting for things to happen. But you can set an intention and say, today I will plan to be focused on the positive things in my life, or I will try to appreciate as much as I can. It's the inventory is basically being aware of how your emotional feeling index is pointing towards. Is it pointing towards not feeling so good, or is it pointing towards really feeling good and following that energy?
And another one of the tools that you use in Superpowers is looking at recycled thoughts. What are recycled thoughts?
Recycled thoughts are thoughts that we keep thinking because we don't know any better. it doesn't allow for the creative part of us, which we can tune in or expand into if we only give ourselves some quiet time, perhaps some relaxation or some openness in not judging certain situations.
And those recycled thoughts can also include self-doubts.
Absolutely. For example, if you are looking at some of the, the group text in like the neighborhood app that some people get into, there's a lot of comments and text exchanges that are being exchanged in those forum that are repeating itself. And at one time there was a lady who said, I feel like I'm in a loop here. I can't get out of it because I keep thinking and saying the same things. How can we get out of it? And the only way really to get out of recycled thinking is to be open, to be non-judgmental, and to try new things so that you expand your thoughts, you expand your beliefs and reframe perspectives. And then you probably expand ways where you can feel better rather than status quo.
And of course, we know that recycled items are meant to be disposed of and put into fresh new energy. So we're talking about recycling, really.
That's right. That's right. We recycle them and hopefully transform them into a better version.
One of my challenges, personal challenges in life, was that it was very difficult for me to say no to anyone. Anyone needed anything or wanted anything, yes, yes, yes. And it came from a wiring that happened when I was a child. And when I got to around my age of 50, I recognized this in me. And I started saying healthily, creating healthy boundaries and saying no. And a little poem came out of this. May I share that with you?
Oh, I would love to hear it.
It's called The Healing Power of No. A time comes for choosing rather than losing the essence that makes us so. And in the bestowing, there's power in knowing the freedom that comes with no. When said with compassion, not angry in fashion, and letting the self-love flow, there's a sense of renewing and deep soul imbuing the awareness that comes with no. So with gentle voice and the power of choice and the courage to make it so, I'm still here, my friends. There's no means in this end, just the healing that comes with no.
I love that. Yes.
Thank you. And it took a long time and a lot of courage to be able to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Growing up Asian, my parents, especially my mother, is always, I had this programming to be a pleasing person.
Yep.
And then when I became more clear about who I am and what I want, I can be compassionate, but not necessarily doing things that necessarily are beyond my boundaries.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a challenge for many of us, especially when we grow up and in family situations where we equate caring for and taking care of and pleasing others as receiving love and not feeling loved unless we were doing that.
Exactly.
And I think that's where a lot of this stemmed from.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But there are those of us on the awakened spiritual path who often encounter family and friends who are not and may question, roll their eyes, or even ridicule us. How may we learn to respond consciously and lovingly?
I think it's very important to not give advice or to preach or to sound like you want trying to convert them or share what you know necessarily. But I think the best way is just to demonstrate that you care for them, you love them, no matter how you might be disagreeing with their manner or their way of talking about things. Just be a loving presence, a loving light wherever you are. And if you have nothing good to share or talk about, it's best to just be silent and smile and try to emit the loving light that you can to anybody.
And shine the light on those words as you shared before.
Exactly, yes. Shine the light, that's right.
My guest is Carina Marshall. We'll be back with more of Carina after these words on the Om Times Radio Network.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of Om Times Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this week is Carina Marshall. Her book is entitled Discover and Use Your Greatest Superpower, Metaphysics, Spirituality, and Bubblegum. Carina, we're living in a world in transition. What role does personal empowerment play in your perspective on this situation?
Pretty much very significantly so, Victor, because if you feel helpless because, you read the news, you listen and even see it on TV, all the things happening globally, the wars, the political strife and corruption and what have you. And then also, the cost of living, finances, relationships. It's very easy to be unbalanced by all of this. And so it's really important to feel that you can take your power back by really going within and discovering that within each one of us is a superpower that can transcend whatever it is that's affecting us on a physical level.
There's an expression that I came upon many years ago, and I sort of adopted my own version of it. And that's never underestimate the power of minds linked in common thought and common energy to change the world. That's really what we can do, can't we?
Absolutely. Once we understand how we can transcend world events or negativity, personal or otherwise, individually, we can actually collectively connect with others through the consciousness field that can really shape the way our evolution would unfold. That's my belief. Yeah.
And in your book, you talk about the reader's role in shaping the new world. Talk a little more about that, please.
Well, if the reader, when the reader really understands the message of the book, that we have a superpower in each one of us that resides in our expanded consciousness, and that which we can tune in and really use, we are shaping the vibration of the world individually, not only individually, but also collectively, such that we would probably be creating the new world where we can practice more oneness and compassion for each other, and also look at things, especially leaders of the world, look at things from the standpoint of love and caring, and then at the same time also balance the energies of money, finance, politics, and what have you. All the elements of where we are right now.
And you call this vibrational living. Tell us a little more about vibrational living.
Yes, vibrational living basically starts with ourselves, with our thoughts, which are vibrations, with our emotions and feelings, which are vibrations, and with our beliefs, which are vibrations. It's really important to look at our beliefs and ask ourselves, is this belief empowering me or is it limiting me? And the same thing with the thoughts and the emotions, because if it's something that feels limiting and not empowering, then it's time to use find out a way of pivoting to a better feeling thought. And these are part of the techniques and tools that I mention in the book, because they're so simple to do. We just have to reprogram ourselves that we can really easily pivot if we only allow ourselves to do it.
Many of our listeners have a meditation practice. As a meditation teacher, how does mindfulness contribute to unlocking one's superpowers?
Mindfulness is basically an awareness of your in the context of a vibrational manner. Mindfulness is an awareness of what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and what my beliefs are that's creating my reality. And this is an important type of probing that I do every day to check my vibrational manner. Once we are aware of our of where we are vibrationally, we can pivot and shift that awareness so that we can amplify our vibration towards the frequency of our superpower. And how you do that is, for example, through meditation and stillness, because the stillness amplifies and accelerates the higher frequencies that normally you would not tune into. When you're able to tune into those higher frequencies that are, that's the frequency of your superpower, then there is a whole expanded consciousness that you have access to for really, literally limitless possibilities.
Is there a success story you can share where a reader applied your teachings and experienced a positive transformation?
Well, one of the things that I'd like to share, to give you an example, and that is I have a friend who has no understanding of the non-physical world, and but she was very open to new ideas. And when her beloved husband passed away, I had the opportunity to share with her at the right moment, of course, several years afterwards, to look at and reframe her beliefs about life after physical, life after death, so to speak, and reframing her belief that life is gone after we physically die, allowed her to explore more about life after death, and that's it's all vibrational. That she could still vibrationally tune in to certain things after the physical life of her beloved husband, and it gave her a lot of peace that and comfort that everything is well.
Absolutely.
That's just one example, yeah.
Absolutely. How do you balance your global experiences with your connection to your soulmate and Zen teacher and former monk husband, Craig?
It is an amazing story, right? Well, I've lived around the world in different locations, and I just know that from all my experiences, whether it's personal or physical or non-physical, I've lived in Dubai, for instance, in the Middle East. I've lived in parts of the United States. I've lived in Asia. And in every experience, I feel that there were the ups and the downs, the contrast and the joyful ones. And they are all of my experiences. I do not block any one of them. I feel like I have lived to become who I am today because of all my experiences. And I'm using that to really relate to Craig, my husband, in the most loving way I can. And since he is also vibrationally in tune with his superpower, we have this amazing interaction and relationship where we are each learning to connect the dots even more on a daily basis, and we are able to share that with other people, or at least plant the seeds that will help empower each one of us individually and also collectively.
That is a blessing. And as someone who also is in a very, very wonderful spiritual relationship and marriage, I think that's such a blessing. So congratulations to the two of you.
Oh, thank you.
I've seen photos of cats sitting in lotus pose. Tell us about your cat, Sita, the Zen teacher.
Yes, we have a cat. Her name is Sita. She's actually a big cat. And she's about 13 pounds. And my daughter and my husband, Craig, were at the shelter one day. And according to my daughter, this cat, Sita, just spoke to her. And so one day they took home the cat, and I was not a cat person. I'm more a dog person. And so this is my first cat. What she does in our house is she adopts our vibration and we adopt her vibration as well. So there's this merging of a family kind of thing where she would always be in the same room where we are. Whether we're talking, dining, or watching TV or whatever, she's always there, and she reminds us to be very present and enjoy the now.
Absolutely.
It's just wonderful.
Cats are very Zen, aren't they?
It is.
What would you like readers to take away from Discover and Use Your Greatest Superpower, Metaphysics, Spirituality, and Bubblegum?
The best gift that anybody can give themselves is to really realize how powerful each one of us can really be if we can only learn to tune in more into our inner world, our inner being, because within us is a constant companion that is always beaming to us the frequency of love, of joy, and of peace. And since we are all vibrational beings, we have the capacity and the tools that I mention and share in my book to vibrate that frequency so we can use and discover that superpower.
The wisdom of my guest, Carina Marshall, her book, Discover and Use Your Greatest Superpower. Carina, one more time, please share with our listeners where they can get your book and find out more about you and your work.
Yes, Discover and Use Your Greatest Superpower is available online via Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And you can also look at the website unlimitedself.us to find out more about myself and the book, and also as a point of interaction with you if you have any questions and any suggestions.
Carina, thank you so much for joining us and sharing this amazing work.
Thank you, Victor. It's an honor, and I really enjoyed our discussion.
As did I. And thank you for joining us on Destination Unlimited. I'm Victor, the Voice Furman. Have a wonderful week.